Real Talk is proudly sponsored by Huawei and MTN.
Good evening and welcome to Real Talk on SABC3. The stage is yours. Today, women across the country claimed the first day of Women's Month with an important message. Hashtag total shutdown. They donned their red and black attire as I am today, and the message has been absolutely clear. To stop gender-based violence against women. And in the interest of doing more than just paying lip service to the plight of women in this country, here at Real Talk, we echo this sentiment that we are equal and worthy. Now, according to the 2017 Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, there are only 7 women entrepreneurs in South Africa for every 10 men. And we'll be hearing from ladies who've decided to leave the corporate world in favor of being their own bosses. We start off with Belinda Mapongwana, and she's one such woman who's dominated in the legal profession after starting her own law firm in 2014. Belinda, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Azania.
We're starting off Women's Month in a powerful way.
Absolutely.
Hearing the voices of women like you who are trailblazers, who've kicked down that door.
Thank you very much.
Kicked it down and you're opening up for the rest.
Absolutely. I think it's important.
Yes. So I want to explore your story because anyone who's familiar with your work knows that you are a champion of people believing in themselves.
Yes.
And I suspect a lot of that has to do with your formative years. At 4 years old, you knew already that you wanted to be an attorney. How does a 4-year-old get this sense and this kind of certainty?
It was incredible. I think I didn't realize what I was saying at the time and the confidence within which I was saying it.
Yeah.
I remember that a lot of people, a lot of the elders in my community would say to my grandmother, who believed it even before I did, that she needs to talk to me.
Yeah.
Because this is not something that, you know, a girl growing up in Gugulethu should even think about.
Wow.
And my grandmother just believed it. And then because of her belief, I believed it as well. And I think my belief was louder than anyone else's belief in me.
So what did you think of that limitation then and now, that people were kind of limiting how big your dreams could be?
It still is prevalent, but there has been a lot of change. I mean, women, like you said, are kicking the doors down. But sometimes it's us that are putting those limits on ourselves. And a lot of it is because of fear. A lot of it is about conditioning, being conditioned to know your place as a woman.
Yes.
And if you don't know your place, you will get the wrath of society. You won't get married. You won't be worthy of any man.
Yes.
And so we limit ourselves because...
We start to believe it, frankly.
Absolutely. You start to believe it because we all want to be accepted.
Yeah.
And our society is not always accepting of women who are going against the grain.
And that 4-year-old went on to become an attorney.
Absolutely.
You went on to work in the Netherlands, in the US, in the UK. What is the one thing that made you feel like you have achieved?
I think for me, I haven't actually. I'm yet to achieve the things that I want to achieve.
So there wasn't a moment where you thought, even when you were graduating or getting that first job?
When I graduated my LLB, it was my sister who believed that this was the door that would open many doors for me. It wasn't myself.
Wow.
The first thing I wanted to do was to leave Cape Town because I thought Cape Town was not big enough to sustain my dreams. And when I went to the Netherlands to study my master's, I was the only black person in my class. But it was not enough. I wanted more. You know, I went to the United Nations and I still wanted more. I was the only South African in my group. I still wanted more.
Yes.
And, you know, and then I went to work in London. I worked in New York. I think the thing that is fulfilling for me now is to see younger people come to my firm and, you know, they are changing. They are becoming more confident.
Yes.
They are
Yes.
becoming more better lawyers. So for me, that is more fulfilling. But in
Right.
terms of myself and my goals, there's a lot more to come.
That you still want to achieve.
Absolutely,
Oh, there are more doors that are
Yes.
coming out of their hinges
Yes.
with Belinda around. But then you left that to go into investment banking. You
I
leave
did.
something that you've been so passionate about since the age of 4.
I didn't leave it as such because I was in compliance.
Oh, I see.
So it's still, you know, more regulatory than pure law. And although a lot of my peers really thought that I had left, but I didn't leave. Compliance, I think, it shows you the business from a different angle. And I
Right.
think for me that was important. And I learned a lot. In fact, now I teach compliance at Wits. So everything has come full circle.
Oh, in the midst of everything else.
Yes.
Ooh, Belinda, all right, we'll get to that later because I still want to understand the journey that you've traveled.
Yes,
Then you started your own law firm.
correct.
So you went from being a corporate animal to being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
What would you say was the rudest awakening?
When you don't get paid at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, I was coming from a very comfortable lifestyle, you know, and then you don't get paid, and no one thinks that there's anything wrong with that, you know. But then you have to continue, you have to carry on.
Yes.
And also the fact that the people that used to believe in me before are suddenly having doubts about this journey that I've embarked on. And so a lot of it was about convincing myself first that I could stay the course, and also convincing the clients that I wanted to attract that I was still the same person, if not better. And I think my clients are now getting a better version of Belinda than I used to be before.
Even after all these years?
Yes, it's a very tough industry. You know, it's very hierarchical. It's all about, you know, how many deals you've done. It's all about, excuse me, you know, whether your name is seen in the front page of the business day.
Wow.
And when you are doing something different,
Yes.
you know, it's very difficult to convince the same people that used to champion you then that you are still the same person or the same lawyer, or that they can trust you with a bigger matter.
Right. But you've niched yourself as well. You provide your legal services to SMMEs.
Mainly.
Mainly.
And as I say that, it's very interesting, Azza, because today I just got a contract with one of the biggest multinationals.
Wow,
And
congratulations.
so this is Women's Day, congratulations.
Yeah.
You know, it's also a testament to what you can do when you believe in yourself. And so, yes, mainly it's SMMEs, but we do have today, as of today, one of the largest global multinationals as one of our clients.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not really about how big the client is or how small the client is. I think more importantly is that the service you're providing to that client, and you want to deliver the best service to that client. Yeah.
What struck me about your law firm is that it is women, your team.
No,
Is it
I've
mixed?
got one. Yes, it's mixed.
Is it mixed now?
I started out actually with a guy,
Yeah.
with my candidate attorney, who's a guy. I think for me that was also important. I think it was important that, yes, I must admit my focus was mainly getting a lady, a female across. But I think it was important for me because he comes from
Yeah.
Alex. And I thought to myself, you know, if he doesn't get into the system of work, of employment,
Right.
he's going to get into another system. And there must be a difference between someone who studied LLB and someone who hasn't. Because I don't want him to wake up and his peers and Alex say, so what's the difference between you and me?
This education thing doesn't get you anywhere.
The education thing hasn't gotten you anywhere.
Yes.
I think for me that's what motivated me, and he is doing very well.
So what would you say is some of the biggest challenges that young black women face in the legal fraternity?
It's that because it's such a hierarchical profession and it's very male-dominated, I think a big part of particularly black females, assimilation. It's not being able to see the strength that you have and the difference that you are bringing as a Black woman. Because we are made to think that we are less than, we carry that with us into the corporate, into the law firms, particularly the bigger firms, and and there's many people, so a lot of voices get lost, and then people always want to take the easier road, and then they become part of, they become like everyone else, because to be different and to be yourself
is not always welcomed.
Not always welcome.
But
it's not always
Belinda, your
welcome.
story is an extraordinary one. I want to thank Belinda Mapongwana, and she joins us a little bit later on in the show. Well, today we're meeting a number of accomplished women from various fields who are all at different phases of success. And we're kicking off Women's Month by marveling at their choices to ditch the 9-to-5 for entrepreneurship. More to come after the break. Well, welcome back to Real Talk with me, Azania Mosaka. Her name has become synonymous with leadership and transformation in the built environment industry. And over the past 10 years, she has led a largely female team in a male-dominated environment through her company, Nonkunchona Associates and Quantity Surveyors. It is such an honor to welcome to the show Nonkunchona. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
I think there's no shame in anyone who's sitting at home, or I'm going to benefit from this as well, in asking the obvious: what does a quantity surveyor do?
Okay, we quantify costs in a building. When a building needs to be built, we basically determine how much it's going to cost. So an architect will give us a drawing, and we will then measure whether it's foundations or it's brickwork, and we'll actually let the client know this is how much a building is going to cost. I think in a nutshell, in a simplified manner, it is an accountant in a built environment.
All right. What a great description. They need to put that in the textbooks. But you've been doing this for 21 years.
Yes.
21. What motivated you to pick what some would see as a very niche type of employment?
Well, it was by chance, really. At that time, I was registered to do BCom. I was in Port Elizabeth at UPE then, and I really didn't like what I was doing, and so I was really researching, checking what else can I actually do, and I wanted to change the degree that I was doing at the time. And before I could actually tell my parents, I wanted to make sure that, when I then sell it to them, they really understand what it was. So when I met up with a guy at, in campus who had, I don't know if you've seen site surveyors.
Yes, with their yellow little cameras.
Yes. So I saw this guy, and they were busy, which was part of their project, and they were studying towards quantity surveying. And I asked them what it was, and they explained. It just sounded foreign, but it sounded very interesting. So I decided that's what I was going to study. I called my father, who was very thrilled because he was in the construction industry. Which is very funny because, he was my father and I knew exactly what he was doing, but somehow I just really could not really relate the two.
Yes.
And then he actually explained this is what quantity surveyors do.
That speaks to such an interesting point about the fact that we need to expose our children to the working world, because you knew he was able to earn an income. This is how he does it. But then the facets, the value chain of what he does is something that was never shared with you.
Yeah, exactly. And weekends, my father used to actually renovate houses. I just knew he owned a workshop, V-section, because I grew up in Mlazi. And I didn't really know much about what he did. I knew he worked for Everite, but weekends he goes and he renovates houses. And my brother would go along, and cousins as well. So I only really got to know what it was that he was doing when I then started quantity surveying.
But let's fast forward then to when, my apologies. Let's fast forward to when you decided to start your own business. This was what, 10 years ago?
Yes.
Congratulations.
11 years ago.
Is it 11 years?
Yes.
That's amazing, because we know the failure rate when it comes to entrepreneurship. So what were some of those stumbling blocks when you first started?
Well, I always knew that. I think when I also really got to know what quantity surveying was, I knew that I wanted to have my own practice. But I knew the fact that I wanted to work for a multiracial, a
National.
national company, which was Tena and Townsend at the time that I worked for. And I knew I just wanted to learn as much as I can. And as soon as I know, then I'm going to start my own company. And I just had my second child at the time, and I was so bored in the office. And I don't know, I think it was just, it was about time that actually now I needed to start my own business. And I was supposed to be traveling to Tanzania because I was working on a project in Dar es Salaam at the time. And I said to my boss, I'm not coming to work. And then I explained to him, actually, I wanted to resign. And before that, I actually told my husband, I said, I really don't feel like going to Dar es Salaam today. He said to me, please bring your computer, let's write a resignation letter. And he actually pushed me. He said, you've always wanted to do this. I think it's time. And if someone doesn't push you, you're not actually going to do it.
Yes, because a lot of people struggle with that. When to make that transition from a 9-to-5 to starting your own thing. But now you are competing. You're competing with the big firms for business.
Yes.
You are now on that side of things. What's that been like? What have been some of the pushbacks that you've experienced?
It's been exciting. Though there are moments where it becomes really difficult because people just sometimes take you for granted that, oh, you another token. You're female, you're black, and actually you don't really know what you're doing, but because of where we are in our country, we need to give opportunities to people who look like you, so we'll give you an opportunity.
I think that's what you shared as well in a CNN interview about the fact that you have to prove and work 3 times as hard to prove that you are worthy of their business.
Yes, yes.
So you're undermined constantly.
You're undermined. So I decided we're then going to be ISO accredited, which has really, really assisted us when it comes to marketing, when we go out to clients who look for work.
Yeah.
Because then we say that, these are the processes that we take. And when we also hire as well, we make sure that we hire qualified quantity surveyors, professional quantity surveyors who are already registered. So at the end of the day, the work speaks for itself.
Yeah.
We've worked on really big projects, and so yeah, we make sure that the work speaks for itself.
So how do you deal with this discrimination? Do you just not weigh the offense at all? Like, okay, that's just this person's view, doesn't define me.
I used to take it very personal
Really?
at the beginning, but it doesn't anymore. I think at the end of the day, it's about the confidence. You show confidence, you show people you know what you're talking about, the rest will follow.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of, I think over the years, you find that you need to complete tenders, you need to go and nudge people all the time. But we're now at a point where people actually come to us and say, we see what you're doing, and we'd like to get involved on the projects that we're doing. So I think it's just getting easier.
Yeah. But we're still not seeing enough women, seeing enough women in this particular industry, even as entrepreneurs. So what will it take? What will it take to transform this industry?
It's slowly getting there,
Yeah.
though there's just very few women still. I think one of the things that you need to do, which I personally do, I hire women. Not that I only hire women, but I make sure when I look at a CV, the first person that I want to hire is a woman. Simply because I need to be a catalyst for women to make sure that there's more of us. And we're just good quantity surveyors as well, because we pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
So better QSs are usually just women, even in the office as well. So it's also making sure that as women we support one another. And I get involved in many organizations like WPN, where there's other women who need to be mentored. So actually participating in such mentorships programs as well.
Right.
So that's what we really need to do.
Absolutely. Well, Nonku, we'll have you back on the show a little bit later. She's going to be part of our full couch a little bit later on. So coming up next is a classic tale of turning one's philanthropic initiative into an operating business. We'll be right back. Well, it goes without saying that walking the path of entrepreneurship takes guts. But for some people, getting to that point happens completely by accident. Take my next guest, for example. Nicole Jowett's Women's Day was a chance to raise funds for a women's shelter, and she started by printing a few T-shirts with uplifting messages on them. But what started out as a passion project, soon took up so much of her time that within no space of time whatsoever, she became a businesswoman. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for
Fully
having me.
fledged, congratulations!
Thank you.
So your first year has been quite a bang.
It's been a whirlwind.
So
Yes.
a year ago, you wanted to do something good for a women's shelter, raise
Yes.
funds.
Yes.
So why was it T-shirts?
I'm just into fashion. I love to express myself through what I'm wearing, and I just thought that it would be a nice way to kind of like be in your face about it and start conversations, but in a fun way, like a non-confrontational, like casual way, just to get the message out there and something that anyone could participate in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff out there that we might not resonate with, something that says New York or London. And you think,
Totally.
Yeah, so now here are messages that resonate with women.
Yes.
But T-shirts are tried and tested. They've been
Exactly.
around. They're one of the
Yes.
oldest garments.
Yes, like
So,
jeans.
Like, exactly.
Yeah.
So what makes yours unique?
Well, mine are made in South Africa. We're supporting local industries, supporting local manufacturing, and creating jobs, nurturing our industries. So that makes quite a difference.
You forgot one big component.
Yes.
The messaging.
Yes.
What kind of messages are emblazoned on your T-shirts?
So empowering messages, messages that inspire people and start conversations. So someone might ask you like, oh, why are you a feminist? And it sparks a conversation with someone that maybe never would have asked before.
Yeah.
And gives you a chance to break stereotypes and get the message across in perhaps a more approachable way than people are used to.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was 500 Rand.
Yes.
And you made, 10 T-shirts at the time?
I started off with 10 and then I
10,
printed another 10 because even more people wanted. And from there it just snowballed.
That's incredible. So was it the power of social media, word of mouth? What do you attribute that to?
Yes, a combination of everything. Word of mouth, the power of social media especially, and just the support of South Africans who want to make a difference.
Yeah.
I think that's key. I think we as South Africans really want to make a better world and make our country better, and that's really just what sparked the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now your volumes are much higher.
Yes.
Than the 10 and then
Yes.
10.
Yes.
What is the supply? What is that conveyor belt pushing out now?
About 400 T-shirts every 3 months.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And all locally sourced? Because a lot of people opt to do their manufacturing overseas because the defense is always that it's cheaper.
Yes.
It's more sustainable that
Yes.
way. And you're doing the bulk of your work
Yes.
in South Africa.
Yes, well, it is quite limiting because there are volume, minimum,
Constraints, yeah.
volume
Those
constraints and all of that, and it is slightly more expensive, but I have managed to bring my costs down to the point that I can do it locally. So
And keep those jobs. That's
yes,
the thing.
yes,
We
and
need to
nurture
keep
the
those
industry
jobs.
so it can become more accessible for other entrepreneurs.
Right.
Yeah.
So it started as an NGO, you were trying to do good.
Yes.
And now it's a fully fledged business. Talk to me about that transition, moving the business from being
Yes.
for social activism to making it something that's profitable and entrepreneurial.
Well, it's a daily learning experience, but it just comes down to negotiating, bringing costs down as far as possible, increasing volumes, And yeah, just taking every day as it comes and learning how to make it better for everyone, for the NGOs involved, for the customer, give a better product.
Oh, so you still, with your sales, contribute to NGOs?
Yes, yes.
So-
Yeah.
oh, I
yeah, yeah,
see.
yeah.
Right, we've got a caller because the show is interactive. We welcome your calls. We take them live, and you're welcome to give us a call through the conversations we'll be having. We've got Winnie calling from Pretoria. Hi, Winnie.
Hello, Azania. How are you?
Very good. Welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Your comment or your question, Winnie?
My question is, how do I go on about not stopping to live my dream, because I'm in business and I've just started and I feel like I'm losing courage. However, seeing the ladies and the women today, I feel very, very privileged, you know, but then I just wanted to find out, how do I go on about not giving up? Thank you so much.
But Winnie, what's making you despondent? You've already started the journey.
Sorry, Azania?
What's making you despondent? Why are you losing hope?
I think financially, that's the number one thing that really sets me off.
Yeah.
And I'm a single parent. I don't have a job, and I've given everything into this business,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm losing hope.
Yes, and only a year. You've been at it only a year.
Yeah, it's only a year.
Yes. Right, Winnie, thank you so much for your call, and I will address it not just with Nicole, but I'll raise it with the panel that's coming up a little bit later on. Any thoughts on Winnie's experience?
Yes, I can totally relate to that. And just like I was saying earlier to someone, that as long as something is progressing, even just the little things, like each day, just try to find something that's working to keep you going. And try to, like, even though the setbacks can feel much harder to deal with than the positive things, it's better to focus on the smaller positive things and let the big setbacks perhaps discourage you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've walked this journey as well, starting a new business,
Yeah.
and it is very hard.
Yeah.
We always encourage people to get into entrepreneurship, but it is incredibly difficult. It starts to strain your relationships, it starts to strain your finances, and you're always looking for that lifeline. And so often you're straddling the disappointments with the positives, and there's this competition that goes on between the good and the bad. So when you connect with other entrepreneurs, women who are in a similar position to you, because that way you'll be able to motivate each other, they'll be able to help you stay focused, they understand your experience, so you'll be talking to people who relate to you. But also don't be afraid to ask for help. Find a mentor, find someone who will help you give new life or breathe new life into your business. Maybe there's some blind spots that you're not aware of that are leading you to sink, or that are dragging you down that you're not aware of. And even with finances, maybe there's a lot of wastage. So get help, speak to consultants, find a mentor. It is possible to get out of the swamp that you might feel like you're in at the moment, and then the rewards come later. But the journey of entrepreneurship, whether it's year 1 or year 10, is incredibly difficult. You live with stress. It's like it's always on your shoulders,
Yes.
this monkey that
Yes.
you can't get rid of. It's always there.
Just you.
It's just you,
just you
and you
there,
panic,
like,
and that,
yeah.
and it's month end now. People are paying salaries. Are you employing anyone?
No, it's just me.
Oh, you see,
Yeah.
the weight of it all is
Yes.
on you.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing incredible work, Nicole, and all of the best, because you've branched out as well. You've expanded. You're
Yeah, I've
in
added-
new markets. You
yeah.
added new ranges.
Added new ranges, added new charities. So I'm supporting, through the sale of the T-shirts, I'm supporting Women's Shelter, Dress for Success, an animal charity, an education charity. So yeah, the possibilities are endless for slogans and for charity causes to support. So,
Fantastic. Thank you, Nicole.
thank you.
Thank you.
I brought you a present.
Yeah.
T-shirts.
I'll be sporting our feminist T-shirts. Thank you so much for the gift.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. That was Nicole. Well, after the break, we're going to meet a woman who will remind you that circumstances do not have to define your future. Be sure to come back. Ah. Welcome back to Real Talk, and today we're kicking off Women's Month by celebrating women who are achieving amazing feats in the entrepreneurial space. And nothing beats a success story as my next guest story, and she's a testament to exactly what tenacity is all about. With no formal qualifications to her name, she decided not to let circumstances get in the way of her dreams as she rose up the corporate ladder in the telecommunications and IT sector. Now, as if that wasn't impressive enough, she then founded the natural hair care range, Earthy SA. Mami Tembu Forks joins me now. Good evening, Mami.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I can see. We're excited to have you here. But you have an extraordinary story because as a young child, you suffered critical losses.
Yes.
Your mom and your brother.
Yes.
So to a child, those are devastating.
It was devastating, but I think in South Africa, sadly, we are dealing with a lot of children that are going through that. I was still a teenager, but we do have a lot of child-led homes in South Africa, and it's always the question of what about them? You know, it's not the same.
Yeah.
The circumstances are not the same. Perhaps you've got to look after your siblings, or circumstances are a little bit different. So yes, I did go through a lot of losses in my life, not only my mom and my brother, but it just carried on. When I found myself then, I lost my best friend. So, you know, you go through trials, and as you grow up, you think, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something wrong with me. I grew up without having anything, and then on top of that, I lose the most important people in my life, and it's just like, oh, should I give up? Or do I start over?
Yes.
And I think for me, it was more of a, you can't give up. You need to start over.
Every time.
Every time.
Because every day,
chance you get.
every morning is an opportunity for us to take a stab at it again.
And as
to have
I've
a shot at it again.
Of course, and I've never qualified. I always say this, and some people say, Mommy, don't volunteer that information that you didn't qualify. I don't have a diploma. I don't have a degree. But there are a lot of people in South Africa right now who don't have those things and are stuck at the moment, and they're wondering, but what if I don't? What if I don't have a supportive structure? What if I don't have a mom? What if I don't have that diploma? What if I don't have that degree? Does that mean I'm shut out from the corporate space?
Yes, or contributing in any way.
Yeah.
So there you are, you enter the IT and telecommunications space.
With no
no
experience.
qualification, no experience, no qualification whatsoever.
None.
Were you riding on the wings of hope? And it paid.
I think I was pushed by a lot of things. I had my baby sister to think about, so I had a huge responsibility. I think when I got in, it was more of a, I don't care. I didn't really look at what they are looking for in terms of experience. What I found is that I'm not in any means saying that you shouldn't have experience or you shouldn't be educated. But what I am saying is that you should, though, go after your dreams. If you can back up your story with an extraordinary work ethic, then anything can happen, despite what you might or might not qualify in. So for me, in life in general, I've just never qualified.
And you've just kept climbing.
Yeah.
So what role did the need to survive? Was it the main driving force that kept you going?
It was, and I think also I have to attribute it to my mother. You know, my mom was not a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that, and she did the best that she could, but she was an intensely intelligent woman. Perhaps she didn't have the opportunities to let it show, but what she did teach me, she always allowed me to dream, which even today, I always say, you know, it is so important. We didn't have much. We hardly had anything, but my mom always taught me to dream, and she'd always say, Wena, I know, one day you'll be on TV, you're gonna be doing this, one day, you know, and that builds you as a child, because even in the hard times, you're just thinking, my mom said I'm going to be X, and I made it a duty. I felt like I'm obliged. I need to make sure that I become whatever it is she hoped for.
Yes.
And it's been my dream, and I've been determined to do that, and each time I just keep doing it.
But the business thing, you've had different attempts at it. There have been different iterations, different ideas over the years, and there was also bankruptcy along the way.
Oh,
so
what law?
Do tell.
You know, I was doing really well in the corporate space, and at some point, you know, when you've had a childhood that was, I didn't know anything about money, you know, or even now all of a sudden you are, you know, you are taking a bath in a bathtub from Indishini. You know, it's an achievement. So at some point, I started learning the corporate space. And in my mind, I thought, I know it all now. I then started a business in telecommunications. And what I quickly learned is that just because you know the corporate world or you are excellent in the corporate space, it doesn't necessarily mean it will be the same when you are on your own.
Right.
It didn't work out for me, and as a result, I lost my house, I lost my car, I lost every single thing that you can imagine. In the midst of that, I lost people, and you know, it completely broke me emotionally and mentally, but at the same time, I am so glad for that experience. It taught me a lot.
Then what do you think of failure? What is your idea or sense and understanding of failure?
Failure is amazing. It's such an excellent teacher. There's so many things. You know, when I was in the corporate space, everything was at my fingertips. You just press a button. IT, call center, this, that. When I was by myself, you start learning about yourself, you become stronger, and failure teaches you a lot of things that when you are winning, you don't learn as much as when you are failing. I learned a lot of different lessons, which also gave me the strength to try again, which a lot of people were saying, no, my cousin is watching right now. She's like, you cannot do this again.
What's that, another one?
Oh, it was terrible. But I think it's important as well as business people to talk about these things. Because now if I'm sitting here and I make it all look perfect, then you are sitting at home thinking there's something wrong with me. I'm going through these struggles. It means there's something wrong with me.
You heard Winnie's call earlier on.
Yes, I heard what Winnie was saying. Winnie, you know, I ran away. Part of my biggest mistake in my first business is that I was running away. When the banks would call, I would run away. When they wanted the car, I was that girl on the road, and I was running away. And what I've learned now is that, you know, don't run. We are all going through some kind of challenge in your business, no matter how big it is. It might be big, it might be small. There's always challenges. And I think as women, it's important for us to be vocal about these things so that we can empower other women. But when it all looks perfect, it's almost as if I cannot get there. I cannot get there. That is too perfect. What about my rough story?
Yes.
So I think
and there must be something wrong with
something
me.
is wrong with me.
Everybody's got these battle
Winnie
stories
mustn't
to share.
give up.
You then decided to go into hair care. This is also a passion area for me. So I'm excited for what you're doing. You founded your brand, Earthy SA, a natural hair care product range, I should say. And it took 4 years to work on these formulations. That requires patience.
I had to, remember now I was bankrupt.
Yeah. So things could only move at 10 rand.
I had to swallow my pride, get back into the corporate space, take what I could get, and work again. I had to reclimb. It's very important to understand, I had to reclimb that ladder again when I went back to the corporate space. So in that time, there was a lot of things that I was learning to say, where did I go wrong? And eventually, the dream of doing hair, it was actually accidental. I was doing my own hair, my hair was growing, it was popping in corporate, and all of a sudden my desk was always full of people who are not there about official business. They want to know about the hair. And then that's when I knew, I said, there's something there. Maybe I should pursue it a little bit more, but let me be a little bit more careful, not with the business side, but more the formulation and what the packaging comes in, because a lot of products that are geared to ethnic women, I mean, the packaging doesn't look great, or, you know what I mean? I wanted it to look good for us.
You took your time.
And I took my time.
Let it be a labor of love.
Yes.
And now it is a success.
Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. Usually I go, no, yes, it is.
Own it. Own it. With the hard work that you've put in.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of hard work.
You're staying right there on the couch, Mummy. You're staying there because we're going to have our final panel discussion after the break. We're going to welcome some of the ladies back so that we can wrap up our discussion around Women's Month and around women in entrepreneurship. Be sure to come back. Right, it's been so enriching for us to have the kind of ladies we've had on the show today, people who are living their lives and pursuing their dreams. I've got Belinda Mapongwana as well as Nonkunchona and Mami Mtembu Fawkes back on the couch just for this one last segment so that we can wrap up our conversation, but we're also taking your calls and your tweets. Right, ladies. Mami, in fact, here's one for you, and it comes from Moloko Love, and it says, please ask her to tell us how she got into telecoms without qualifications and experience.
I started right at the bottom. I came in as an administrator. I lasted 1 day as an administrator, and I basically sold myself and said, you know, I think I can do sales, give me a shot. They gave me sales, and from there, I just learned everything that I possibly could, and then started breaking those barriers to say, I can do it. I might not have this, but this is what I know. And I think when you get into that corporate space, it's important to show them what you can do. You know, if you can show them what you can do and you learn while you are there, you're not just chilling.
Yes.
You need to learn while you are there. And if you can learn, there's so much value. And there's always a space for everyone. There's always a space.
No, Belinda, you mentioned that sense of self-belief, that you need to
Absolutely.
have it. It'll catapult you onto levels that you never thought you could on your own.
I want to echo what Mami said, because I think the most important thing is, are you teachable?
Yeah.
Are you open to learning? And I think attitude will really take you far, further than maybe your qualifications would sometimes.
Yes.
Look, and I think to be clear, it does depend on the industry. But I think if you are teachable, if you're hungry, you have to you have to give yourself a chance.
So as entrepreneurs, what is the one thing that keeps you up at night the most? The most.
You mentioned month-end salaries.
Okay.
Same here.
Salaries, the cash flow. Is
Cash
there
flow.
enough in the bank
Yes,
to take care of all those expenses? Right. One from Swiss Libby says, Real Talk on 3 is so lit today. Nonkunchona is extremely amazing, and we wish to follow in her footsteps. She has inspired men and women in her journey. And that's really the intention. But do you believe that entrepreneurs are made, or are they born? Because in the midst of all of these conversations, it can be something that deters you, that allows you to believe that you can. And it can also be something that propels you to go into it, depending on your viewpoint. Are they made or are they born?
For me, I don't think they're born. I think they're made. I'm taking it from my own experience, because I always thought, for me, I'll never really be able to do certain things, but I've had to actually teach myself.
Right.
So someone else had to teach me. Otherwise, I didn't know some of the things that I now know.
Yeah, yeah. Mami, what do you
I think, for me, I think it's kind of both, because for me, it's in me. I feel like I did have an opportunity, as I said, to go back into the corporate space, and I had a great job. A lot of people think I left this monstrous job. I was like, no, I was popping. I was having a great time. But this thing kept on just bugging. It was always in me, and I think for me, I'll always be an entrepreneur. It's just there's no other way of me being.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn, but at the same time, I think it's something that is quite in me.
Right.
I love it.
Okay, we've got a caller from Pretoria. It's Precious. Precious, good evening. Hi, welcome to Real Talk.
How are you?
We're good, thank you. What would you like to say to our panel?
Nonku, my question goes to Nonku. I'm a technician and I'm currently working, but I feel like I'm not doing enough. I want to be a leader, but I need motivation. I'm lacking motivation. I am demotivated currently, but I want to go somewhere where they can empower me.
Okay. What does she do?
And get more skills. How do I where do I get that?
All right.
Thank you.
Precious, she said she's in the technical sphere.
Okay, all right. Well, I think to really get a mentor is probably number one. And then through your discussions, obviously, in terms of what it is that where you see yourself, I think that will probably assist in really paving the way in terms of getting you motivated again. I think we all have bad days and good days. And I also get demotivated at times, depending on when I'm rejected or not. So if you have been constantly rejected through trying to find a job as well, so it could be that. I think it's very important to really get a mentor or a coach.
I agree with you, but I also have a little bit of a concern with where can I go to get motivated? Because other people can't give that to you. Someone can't make it happen for you. They can't make you feel motivated. So in this journey as well, I think there's a lot of self-work. There's a lot of self-talking to, self-picking up, even when the chips are down and nothing is going your way.
And I think what is also important, she needs to understand that she will forever be demotivated. There will always be a time that she's going to be demotivated. Even if she's right up there, there'll be times that she gets demotivated. She needs to take some time to work on herself, which is important. Yes, you can get your mentors, and I love your ideas of mentorship, but at the same time, you're drawing from somebody else's energy as well. We also
what
carry
happens when
our
we're not
own,
there?
you know, a lot of people do come to me and say, Mommy, mentor me. And I say, I don't, right now, I'm probably not in the right space to mentor you. You need to select your mentors very correctly and know yourself a little bit more prior to choosing your mentor, because it's both your time that is involved in this. It's a transaction. So I think being demotivated, that's okay. Look at what is wrong there. Why are you demotivated? Maybe there needs to be a self-evaluation.
Absolutely.
Right now.
And I think also a good tip is perhaps to start with the things that you do enjoy, with the
Yes.
way of working towards the things you don't enjoy about the activities or whatever is concerned. Any thoughts, Belinda?
Absolutely. I think as I focus on what is going right,
Yes.
that will always propel you to get up again and do it one more time. And sometimes there are signs. You know, you are demotivated. I'm still demotivated sometimes. And then there will be that call from an old friend. And there will be that tweet from someone who's following you and says you've inspired them on the journey. And that is a sign to keep going.
Absolutely. Focus on the things that
look
are
at the
going
signs.
well. She's employed, you've got access to people who have a wealth of knowledge, so tap into that. It's been so inspiring and so much fun meeting our guests today. But let's do it again tomorrow evening. I'll see you then. From us on Real Talk, it's good night.
That's cheeky.
Real Talk is proudly sponsored by Huawei and MTN.